In this lecture, we'll use our recently acquired path writing skills in order to navigate the file system. Meanwhile, it's fairly easy to orientate ourselves using the graphical window explorer. It becomes a little more tricky when using the terminal if we don't have the right tools. So let's start by the first and most important one, which is the pwd command. The pwd command, which stands for print working directory, displays the path of the directory we currently are located in. If you open a new terminal window, for instance, and run this command, you should see appearing the path to your home directory, which is in my case /users/razvan. Now, before we get to how to navigate through directories, let me briefly introduce you to the ls command, which stands for list, that is used to list the entries of a directory. As indeed, knowing how to change our working directory is awesome, but not very useful if we can't see what's in it. So, in its most basic usage, the ls command will simply list the entries of our current working directory. You can already try it yourself in your shell by running ls right from your home directory. Now that we know how to orientate ourselves and list entries, let's learn how to navigate. To change our working directory, we use a built-in command called cd, which simply stands for change directory. Now, as you can see in its synopsis, the cd command takes a path as an optional argument, which means that it can be either used on its own or in conjunction with a relative or an absolute path. Indeed, running cd without an argument will automatically take you back to your home directory. On the other hand, running cd with a path argument will either change your working directory to that path or display an error message if that path doesn't exist or if you don't have the permissions to enter it. For example, running this command from a home directory will successfully take us to the documents directory, whereas running this one will print an error since the X folder doesn't exist. Let's now put into perspective the three commands we've just seen. Let's say we want to enter the root directory starting from a home directory. To do so, we have two options. The first one is to use its absolute path, which is, if you remember, symbolized by / character, and the second one is to use its relative path using the double dot notation like so. You can of course now run pwd to confirm your location, and ls to have a quick look at what's inside. Let's say we now want to return to our home directory. And to do so, we once again have two options. The first one is to run cd without arguments, and the second one is to run cd with a tilde character, which will, if you remember, expand into the path value of our home directory. Now, it will most of the time happen that we just want to pick inside of a directory without necessarily wanting to move in it. To do so, we can use the ls command once again, but this time supplying it with one or more path arguments. So if we wanted, for example, to list the entries of the /bin directory, which is a shorthand for binaries that contains a set of basic executable programs like ls itself, we could simply run the following command. Just so you know, ls also enables you to list the entries of several directories at once like this. Let me now present to you two option flags that could make your life a little easier when using the ls command. The first one is the -n flag. If you ever wanted to display the entries in the form of a list instead of columns, you could simply use it like so. And the second one is the p flag. Since by default ls doesn't really show you the difference between entry types, you can use the p flag to tell ls to add a /character at the end of each entry that is a directory in order to help you distinguish more easily what is what. Just so you know, you can of course combine these options as they're not mutually exclusive, either like this or like that. And last but not least, here's a little trick I'd like to share with you about the cd command. If you ever need to quickly come back to the previous directory you were in, you can simply use the cd command in combination with a single -- character. For example, if we first enter the documents directory, then move to the root directory, all we have to do to go back to documents is to run cd and a dash. I suggest you now take the time to play around with the three new commands we've just seen to make sure you're really confident with all these new notions. In the next lecture, I'll introduce you to an amazing feature that will greatly simplify your path writing and to yet another powerful expansion called the path name expansion.